Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers, silent thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful, swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date, Monday, May 22nd, 2017. Yes, I'm along the New River of Fort Lauderdale. Mellow night, nice and breezy. It was warm earlier today, and hit the beach, just chilled. Liked it. Got some sun. Yeah, so I was just checking on some of the news feed via Twitter, and just found out that an incident broke out, an explosion that occurred in Manchester, UK, the Manchester Arena, I think it is. Pretty appalling, I would say, with all sincerity, because you have good people getting hurt. It was a Ariana Grande concert. Just some couple articles. This is from Reuters, by the way. And according to the British Prime Minister, Theresa May, she made a statement. Police treating the incident as appalling terrorist attack. Of course, we know for a fact that the arena is considered a soft target. So this is going to be a couple of articles on that and who may be to blame, which is not surprising at all. Got some other stuff I'm going to be talking about as well. Of course, the military-industrial complex has been climaxing when Trump made that agreement with the Saudis. Status quo. And other people get defended. No, it's not. I'm like, yep, the person you bow down to, your other predecessor, did the same thing. So you know what? I don't want to hear any more excuses. But, it's from Reuters. And it says here at least 19 killed in blast at Ariana Grande concert in British Arena, which is Manchester to be exact. And it reads here, it's by John Super. At least 19 people were killed in the blast at a concert in English city of Manchester on Monday, where U.S. singer Ariana Grande had been performing, and 2 U.S. officials said a suicide bomber was suspected in the explosion. British people said the incident, in which at least 50 people were injured, was being treated as a terrorist incident. Police carried out a controlled explosion on a suspect device several hours after the blast. Police said they responded to reports of an explosion shortly after 10:35 p.m. or 21:35 GMT at the arena, which has a capacity up for 21,000 people and where the U.S. singer had been performing to an audience that included many children. It confirmed as a terrorist incident. It would be the deadliest attack in Britain by militants since 4 British Muslims killed 52 people in a suicide bombings on London's transport system in July 2005. The blast also came 2.5 weeks ahead of an election in which Prime Minister Theresa May is predicted by opinion polls to win a large majority. A witness who attended the concert said she felt a huge blast as she was leaving the arena, followed by screaming and a rush by thousands of people trying to escape the building. A video posted on Twitter showed fans, many of them young, running from the venue. We were making our way out when we were right by the door. There was a massive explosion and everybody was screaming. Concert goer Catherine McFarlane. Hey, what's up? Told Reuters. How you doing? Yeah. Got a little dog here. Let's say how I'm doing. It's all right. Yeah. That's all good. I'll see you soon, all right, buddy?
Gonna go?
All right, have a good night. As the dog came by, introduce herself to me. Pretty cool. So, And it says here, it was a huge explosion. You could feel it out of your chest. It was chaotic. Everybody was running out and screaming and trying to get out. A spokesman for Ariana Grande, 23, said the singer was okay. Manchester Arena, the largest indoor arena in Europe, opened in 1995 and is a popular concert and sporting venue. Britain is on the second highest alert level of severe, meaning attack by militants is considered highly likely. British counterterrorism police have said they are making, on average, an arrest every day in connection with suspected terrorism. In March, a British-born convert to Muslim applied a car into pedestrians on London's Westminster Bridge, killing 4 people before stabbing to death a police officer who was on the ground of Parliament. He was shot dead at the scene. So, yeah, the train's coming by here. They talk. There's other related coverage here as well. Yep, there is a train. So let's hit this one next. It says here, British Prime Minister May says officials seeking details of appalling Manchester blast. British Prime Minister Theresa May said on Tuesday that authorities were working to establish the details of a blast which killed 19 people and injured dozens in the northern English city of Manchester, adding that it was being treated as an appalling terrorist attack. We are working to establish the full details of what is being treated by the police as an appalling terrorist attack, she said in a statement. All the thoughts are with the victims and the families of those who have been affected. So, it's nothing new at all. I'm just going to head back here. So, yeah, you can just hit the links on that Reuters page. And, of course, yep. So, now let's go see what it says over here of the suicide bomber. One moment. Suicide bomber suspect in Manchester blast 2 U.S. officials. Let's see what it has to say about this. Came out, same day at 9:30. Initial signs point to a suicide bomber as the cause of the blast at a music venue in Manchester, England, that killed 19 people and injured 50. 2 U.S. officials who spoke on condition of anonymity said on Monday, British police said they are treating the explosion at a concert for U.S. singer Ariana Grande as a terrorist incident. Okay, it's almost the same scenario here. So what else? Let's just see here one more. Yeah, the links are on the side of this particular article. So let's just see what it says over here on related coverage. UK police says controlled explosion was precautionary. British police said controlled explosion carried out near a concert venue in Manchester on Tuesday was done as a precaution, and that the destroyed item turned out to be abandoned clothing rather than something suspicious. So, of course, say the same thing. At least 19 people were killed and some injured, and they're treating it as a terrorist incident. One thing you gotta look at, my friends, kill bono who is gonna benefit. Well, they're gonna be using other things as excuses to make it more of a crackdown, a lockdown for the brothers and sisters in Great Britain. It's another soft target. Very dangerous. And it's really condemning with innocent people, including children. That's how they want to manifest, put the fear into everybody. So there's an interesting claim here by Heavy.com, and it came out today as well as updated. It says here, ISIS supporters celebrate likely Manchester Arena suicide bombing. This is by Tom Cleary. It says here the ISIS terror group has not claimed responsibility for an explosion that at least 19 dead and 50 wounded at an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester, England, where supporters are celebrating the incident on social media, according to experts. So, Rita Cast status. Of course, there's a thing on here. Rita Cast. No claim regarding the blast. Manchester, by ISIS account celebrating the attack. There's just a claim by Rita Katz, of course. Please. What? Pretty interesting site here. Yeah, so of course, she's the director of Site Intelligence Group. Alright, so I was gonna, some expert, huh? Rita Katz, director of Site Intelligence Group, tweeted, no one claimed responsibility. No one claimed regarding blast in Manchester, but ISIS accounts celebrated attacks. Just mandating media and threats. There's a link for that. So she's making all these things here of all that's going on from the tweets. All right. ISIS supporter often celebrate attack incidents that injured multiple people in the West. But that does not always mean the terror group is behind the incident. In several cases, ISIS supporters who have carried out attacks have been claimed by the group as a soldier, while no evidence of any direct contact between the terror group and its supporter can be found at this point. There has been no statement from official ISIS sources, all right, including as its Airmac news agency. ISIS has called for attacks on concert venues, like its coordinated assault on Bataclan, and has tried to inspire homegrown terrorists in the West, including Britain. Here are some expert reactions to chatter related to the attacks. And of course, he's got the one from Rita Katz here an hour ago, says no claim regarding the blast in Manchester, but ISIS accounts celebrating the attack, dismantling the media and threats. Of course, another one here, number 2. Pro-ISIS forum users call Manchester attack a successful and surprising blow to Britain. Frame attack as retaliation for airstrikes. So, and of course, you go down here. Number 3, lately, pro-ISIS accounts have called supporters to hunt your prey in UK, providing info on community centers, tourist areas, and government buildings. And everything down here in the Telegram, it's all in Arabic and some in English. So, even down here, Michael S. Smith made a statement. Key Islamic State linked Telegram channels that have celebrated Manchester tech now spreading words, pounds lost relative to dollar. All right. And of course, you got the reactions down here as well for the news sites and so forth. And McAgency and Michael S. Smith II, again, indicator managers of Islamic State's English language Khalifa News Telegram channels are ramping up posts at odds tonight in Manchester. So everyone's like manifesting on here. I can just see it. And of course, photos. One says here, your bombs over children of Mosul and Raqqa came back. So they're trying to use that whole black blowback lingo. All right. Of course, lay a statement incident at Manchester. What it says here as a tweet there as well. Key Islamic State. Yes, okay. So you got he's considered a terrorism analyst, data collector. He's supposed to be he's from America. Interesting. See some strange, a little bit suspicious in these areas. Chris Sampson, taps Trimedia, ISIS-related Telegram channel seizing upon Manchester blast on Telegram, but their chatter indicates they are watching coverage. All right, and we'll continue on here. Ariana Grande was among those injured. Her representative said the incident reported about 10:30 p.m. local time after Grande left the stage and house lights came on while people were beginning to exit the arena. About 20,000 people were in attendance at the sold-out show, including many teenagers and young people who came to see the pop star perform. This is currently being treated as a terrorist incident until police know otherwise. The police department said in a statement, Northwest Counterterrorism Unit is treating the incident as a possible terrorist incident and is investigating, the BBC reports. The explosion occurred in the foyer area of the arena. British Transport Police told The Sun. Sources told the newspaper the explosion was a nail bomb attack, so it was like the whole thing's like shrapnel, but police have not confirmed that detail. And it says here, meanwhile, NBC News, meanwhile, reporting that this was an attack carried out by a suicide bomber or a backpack bomb. So I'm not familiar with Britain's policies or Manchester policy bringing a backpack into a concert. So it says here, NBC News' Pete Williams, citing U.S. sources, reports there is increasing confidence it was a terrorist attack, while forensic evidence points to a bomb in a backpack. Of course, Tom Winter did a tweet. UK authorities suspect a possible suicide bomber responsible for an incident at a concert in Manchester, sources says. Lauren Valentine Barrow, local singer and concert booking agent, posted on Facebook, I have heard from quite a few people that know staff from the arena saying they were suicide bombers at the foyer entrance near McDonald's. It is not confirmed, of course, but all things I am hearing are not good. I hope you are all safe. There were just a loud bang and flash, and everyone tried to scramble out. An alarm came on telling everyone to stay calm but leave as quickly as possible. Jade Baines, 18, of Hull, told The Guardian. Another witness, Oliver Jones, also gave a description to The Guardian of what he witnessed. And it says here, I was in the toilet and heard a loud bang just after the concert finished and people have started to leave. The bang echoed around the foyer of the arena. People started to run. I've seen people running and screaming towards one direction, and then many were turning around to run back the other way. Security was running out as well as the fans and concert goers. Reports of blood and people injured, and so much shock and panic. You see this on the news all the time and never expect it to happen to you. I just had to run and make sure me and my sister were safe. Another witness told the BBC she saw some people being injured in the stampede as people tried to exit after the blast. As we turn out around the corner, there was a horrific stampede of people coming down the steps. People are falling down, she told the news station. I grabbed my daughter and we just ran. There were people being crushed on the floor. It is not known if people are searching for any suspects or if anyone is in custody. A video posted to Twitter, which you can watch below, shows armed police pulling a man out of a car and arresting him. The person who posted the video did not know the circumstances around the arrest, which occurred in Manchester near the arena. And of course, Taz did that. Armed police just pulled a man out of a car and arrested him. And then, of course, here, the UK terror alert was at a severe before the explosion. The incident comes after an attacker inspired by the ISIS terror group drove a car into pedestrians on the Westminster Bridge in London, killing 4 people, injuring more than 50 before crashing his car into the fence of the British Parliament, fatally stabbing a police officer. The terrorist Khalid Massoud was then shot dead by another officer. The incident also came after raids on terror groups in London that led at least 4 arrests, the Guardian reported on May 17th. People said 4 men were arrested on suspicion of being concerned in the commission, preparation, or instigation of acts of terrorism, Met Police said. These arrests were pre-planned as part of an ongoing investigation by the Met's Counterterrorism Command and MI5. Arrests are linked to activity in the UK. Police also carried out raids in late April, leading to arrests that they say disrupted two separate attack plots, including one man arrested in Westminster and another in northwest London, where a woman was shot and subsequently charged criminally along with two other women. The explosion also comes on the fourth anniversary of the death of a British Army officer, Forster Lee Rigby, who was publicly executed by Islamic terrorists. The U.S. President Donald Trump, who was traveling in Israel, had been briefed. A senior White House official told MSNBC News the NYPD, the FBI, and other law enforcement have said they are taking precautions in the United States as a result of the Manchester incident. Follow the links below for updates on the incident and Manchester Ariana Grande explosion. 5 facts you need to know. So let's just one moment. Let's see here. Okay. Let's just read what they have to say on that. You can just link it. And it says here, Manchester Ariana Grande concert explosion, 5 facts you need to know. So let's just read what they have to say, right? At least 19 people have been killed and about 50 injured at the Manchester Arena in England after an explosion was reported during an Ariana Grande concert Monday night. The Greater Manchester Police said this is currently being treated as a terrorist incident until the police know otherwise. The police department said in a statement. Witnesses said the explosion was followed by screams of panic and stamp of people trying to leave the crowded building, which is one of the largest arenas in the world. Indoor arenas, right? Yeah, excuse me. NBC will report it. I'm just looking at this over here. All right. So, Ariana Grande was not among those injured. Her representative said the incident reported about 10:30 p.m. local time after Grande left the stage and house lights came on while people were being exited to the arena. About 20,000 were in attendance at the sold-out show. We many teenagers and young people who came in to see the pop star. The blast occurred in the public area just outside the arena and the security perimeter. All right, and it's almost the same thing I talked about before. So you can live stream it. Here's the thing here. Here's what it says here. Number 1, the explosion occurred near the foyer area of the arena, possibly caused by a suicide bomber, sources said. And it says here, the explosion occurred near a foyer area in the arena. British Transport told the Sun. Sources told the newspaper. Explosion, nail bomb attack. Okay. It's all the same thing here. Man fell dead at the scene. Thought it to be a probable suicide bomber, report says, according to NBC officials, to have tentatively identified him. NBC, meanwhile, is reporting the attack was carried out by a suicide bomber. Of course, with the backpack, it's already been addressed. Police have not confirmed if it was a suicide bomber. CBS News is also reporting a bomber blew himself up at the arena. According to the CBS report, the bomber took the tube to Victoria Station, went to the ticket area of the arena, and detonated an explosive device as people left the concert. Investigators found ball bearings at the scene and have traced the bomber's movements through CCTV. Lauren Valentine Burrow, a local singer and concert promoter on Facebook. Yep, I already told you about that. Police have released a few details about the incident, including what led to the deaths and injuries. Early reports indicated equipment exploded, sparking a panic. There were also reports of early multiple explosions, but many witnesses have since described hearing only one blast. Concertgoers were holding pink balloons handed out by Ariana Grande's team as part of the concert, and popping balloons were possibly mistaken for gunshots. And there's some tweets on here too. There were just a loud bang and flash, and everyone tried to scramble out. An alarm came on, telling everyone to stay calm but leave as quickly as possible. So I said that about everything on here, but the toilet and all that. So It's mainly the same stuff, if I'm correct. Yeah, it's almost the same here. So, it has a video showed here. Blast was witnessed outside the arena, captured chaos inside. That was posted, so you can check that out. And oh yeah, so you hit the link, you see this for yourself because the videos on here about the explosions and so forth. Of course, there's a large police presence outside the building, or asked to avoid the area. So there's some videos on here as well. Yeah, people were wounded and all that. All right, so let's see what number 4 has to say on facts. The arena is located in Hunts Bank and has capacity of 21,000 people. All right, so SMG Europe and all that. Absolutely. And 5, Ariana Grande, her band, and other performers were not injured. The incident, the spokesman said, "Guys, we're okay. Thank you. We love you." BIA at Perseo Princess. So they're letting everyone know they're safe, which is a good thing. And a lot of questions in here, especially when they try to use the old ISIS ordeal. And you know me well enough, hear enough of my shows, I always look at ISIS as a one world order funded organization. And everything that's been talked about with the Twitter and the internet and so forth, all these ISIS sites. So I'm expecting on this next article by Tech Dirt, they want to try to regulate the internet because of it. Oh, because we have these freedoms, or taking advantage of our freedoms, which I find pretty, not too surprising. It's like the Heligan theory, the problem, reaction, solution. But like I said, even some isolated instances that happen in the States, or like the Orlando shooting at Pulse nightclub when Omar Mateen made a statement on saying, "Yes, I may have pledged allegiance to ISIS." I'm like, so I see this one world order agenda, possibly. I hope I'm mistaken. One thing for sure, you gotta, hope and pray for the best, and people gotta at least show the love for the victims and the deceased and their heirs on this. So this is why I'm looking at this as a clampdown, even on internet freedom, based on the tweets and so forth, and all these telegrams and all that. Talking about it's a great thing this happened. Doesn't make any sense, but I got this next one here from Tech News, and it came out on Monday as well. That morning, it's interesting. It says here, Theresa May plan to regulate, tax, and censor the internet. And so I guess the timing is pretty coincidental for these bombings. So let's just read it. It says here, Theresa May plans to regulate, tax, and censor the internet. And this is by Mike Mansnick. All right, came out today to be exact, Monday. So as it reads here, UK Prime Minister Theresa May recently calling for a new election there, which she is expected to win easily despite recent reports of narrowing polls. Last week, May's Conservative Party released its manifesto, which what we in the U.S. tend to call the party's platform. There are all sorts of things that they're getting press attention, but for the stuff that matters here on Tech Dirt, let's just say May's views on the internet is not a good one. Part of the plan is basically to regulate, tax, and censor the internet, because the Conservative Party leadership doesn't seem to much like the internet, especially dislike the fact that Google and Facebook are so successful. What's hilarious is that the manifesto basically promises to put in all sorts of rules that will absolutely kill off any internet economy in the UK, as no company in its right mind would agree to these restrictions, while at the same time it talks up how important it is to support digital business in the UK. Of course, some of the plan is couched in nice sounding language that should actually scare you. So you see what's occurring right now, all right, my friends, is that they're going to try to take advantage of this as a solution. And Will says here, so it says here, I will continue on, a conservative government will develop a digital charter working with the industry and charities to establish a new framework that balances freedom with the protection of users and offers opportunities alongside obligations for businesses and platforms. The charter has two fundamental aims: that we will make Britain the best place to start and run a digital business, and that we will make Britain the safest place in the world to be online. Oh man, talk about double speak here. Wow, man, this is very, I can say, used car salesman rhetoric. All right, so we'll continue on here. Balances, freedoms. Freedom aren't supposed to be balanced. They're supposed to be supported and protected. And when you have your freedoms protected, that also protects users. Those two things aren't in opposition. They need to be balanced. As for obligations for businesses and platforms, those five words are basically the ones that say we're going to force Google and Facebook to censor stuff we don't like while making it impossible for any new platform to ever challenge the big guys. It's a bad idea. Of course, immediately after that, there's a bunch of nonsense about how the UK will be the best place to run a digital business. That's not even remotely true based on what is said in the immediately preceding paragraph. We will ensure there is a sustainable business model for high-quality media online to create a level playing field for our media and creative industries. This is a dog whistle to the legacy film and recording industries about terrible copyright laws on the way for a few years now. Those industries have been whining about the need for a level playing field, which to them means no internet innovation business models, but rather a government-mandated business model that protects an old legacy way of doing business. Yes, nannyism 101. Promising a sustainable business model from the government makes no sense. That's not how it works unless you're giving companies monopolies. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's what copyright is all about. So basically, say goodbye to a lot of innovation in the creative fields in the UK because Theresa May wants to lock in the business model from 1998. Our starting point is that online rules should reflect those that govern our lives offline. It should be as unacceptable to bully online as it in the playground, as it's difficult to groom a young child on the internet as it is in a community, as hard for children to access violence and degrading pornography online as it is the high street, and as difficult to commit a crime digitally as it is physically. Again, these are the kinds of things that lots of people find reassuring. If they know absolutely fuck all about how the internet works and what it would actually take to do this. First off, the rules that govern offline do govern online. Second, it is just as socially unacceptable to bully on the playground as it is to online. But spoilers, it still happens in both places, it's sad and unfortunate, but history has yet to come up with the way to stop bullying on the playground, as most suggestions for how to do it online involve ridiculous surveillance and censorship, which creates a whole host of other problems, and a whole grooming children on the internet is an overblown moral panic that happens extremely rarely. As for running into pornography and violence, there's certainly an issue. Sorry about that. Certainly an issue, but one that parents generally are supposed to handle rather than the government seeking to censor the entire internet. And what the hell does it mean to say it should be as difficult to commit a crime digitally as it is physically? In many cases, it's more difficult. In some cases, it's easier. But given the long list of crimes, it is difficult to argue that digital crime as a whole is somehow easier than offline crime. It is silly, meaningless statement that just plays bogus fears about the dangers of the internet. We will put a responsibility on industry and not to direct users, even unintentionally, to hate speech, pornography, or other sources of harm. We will make clear the responsibility of platforms to enable the reporting of inappropriate bullying, harmful, or illegal content with takedown on a comply or explain basis. Basically, we will make private internet companies our internet censorship police, or we'll fine them millions of dollars. This will create all sorts of unnecessary problems. First, to avoid liability, companies will massively over-censor. We see this happen all the time. All sorts of perfectly fine and legitimate content will be censored just to avoid the potential liability. Second, this will be massively expensive. Sure, Facebook and Google can probably handle the expense, but no one else will be able to. If you're trying to start the next Facebook or Google in the UK, you're fucked. And excuse me for using this profanity. This is how it's being documented here. Okay, you can't afford to police all the content on your platform, nor can you afford the potential liability. Probably best to just move somewhere else. Third, does the UK government really want private platforms like Google and Facebook making these determinations? Why is it handing off the responsibility of what kind of speech is illegal to private for-profit companies, foreign companies at that? In addition, we don't believe there should be a safe space for terrorists to be able to communicate online, and will work to prevent them from having this capability. So you hear what you are listening right now on that, right? At last statement. Now look what happened at Manchester, and everyone's spewing off on Twitter and so forth these so-called terrorist organizations or their sympathizers. All right, so this right here. So I will continue on, and this may be the most terrifying line of all here. That's the dog whistle for will outlaw encryption, because encryption in the mind of foolish, scared ready cat politicians creates safe spaces for terrorists. Never mind that the same encryption case creates safe spaces for every other person, and that undermining that makes absolutely everyone less safe. This is a dangerous plan that seems to echo the words of the UK's Home Secretary Amber Rudd from a few months ago, where she wanted to find people who knew the necessary hashtags to silence terrorists online. This isn't policy making. This is nonsense. Right there. Right there. Perfect. We will educate today's young people on the harms of the internet and how best to combat them, introducing comprehensive relationship and sex education in all primary and secondary schools to ensure that children learn about the risk of the internet, including cyberbullying and online grooming. So they're going to play the mama and papa of your children in the UK. First of all, why is the education only the risk of the internet and not the benefits and opportunities? What an odd thing to focus on. Second, it's 2017. Are there really still schools that don't already teach this stuff? And as mentioned earlier, the boogeyman of cyberbullying and online grooming are both overblown moral panics. Mind Control 101 to be exact. We will give people new rights to ensure that they are in control of their own data, including the ability to require major social media platforms to delete information held about them at the age of 18, the ability to access and export personal data, and an exception that personal data held should be stored in a secure way. I say it's a wet dream. So he has to state. Then there's the right to be forgotten. Apparently, the plan is a blanket right be forgotten for anything about you from before you're 18. Look, I did stupid things before I was 18. You probably did too. It's a kind of part of being a teenager. You do stupid things, most people then grow up. They regret what they did, but most normal people recognize that when others did stupid stuff in their teens, it was because they were teenagers who then grew up as well. In other words, most people put that stuff into context. You don't need to delete it. Just recognize it happened. That the person was a teenager when they did, and you assume they probably grew up and matured. Wow, man. It says here. We'll just go on. Let's carry on here. We will continue with our 1.9 billion pounds investment in cybersecurity and build on the successful establishment of the National Cybersecurity Center. Through our world-leading cybersecurity strategy, we will make sure that our public services, businesses, charities, and individuals users are protected from cyber risk. We will further strengthen the cybersecurity standards for government and public services, requiring all public services to follow the most up-to-date cybersecurity techniques appropriate. How the hell are you going to do that with the same that you're outlawing encryption? Some people say that this is not for government to regulate when it comes to technology and internet. We disagree. Good grief. Yeah, we got that from all the nonsense above. Nor do we agree the risk of such approach outweighed the potential benefits. Then you need to hire at least someone in your leadership who understands the internet, because it is clear that's severely lacking. I can't argue about that. He's right. We will introduce a sanctioned regime to ensure compliance, giving regulators the ability to fine or prosecute those companies that fail in their legal duties, and to order the removal of content where it clearly breaches UK law. We will also create a power in law for government to introduce an industry-wide levy from social media companies and communication service providers to support awareness and preventative activity to counter internet harms, just as already the case with the gambling industry. Talk about Big Brother 101, huh? There's a censorship and taxation bit, and the course of a couple of sentences, sanctions to ensure compliance with the censorship regime, and levies to tax Facebook and Google to pay up because of imagery internet harms. We believe that the United Kingdom can lead the world providing answers. So we will open discussions with the leading tech companies and other like-minded democracies about the global rules of the digital economy to develop an international legal framework that we have for so long benefited in others areas like banking and trade. So not only will they tax, regulate, and censor the internet, they want to get other countries to do the same thing. There is much more in the manifesto that is basically a joke and will destroy the tech sector in the UK rather than help it. It shows an outstanding level of ignorance about the internet and technology and seems to be written by technically illiterate people who fall for internet hoaxes and not only think of internet in terms of what they fear about. It's a bad look and a rather stunning one from a conservative party that supposedly favor deregulation, free market kind of ideas. This plan is the exact opposite. It's technically clueless, top-down paternalism. And I cannot disagree. One thing we know for sure, this is all part of the Big Brother syndrome. 19 Orwellian style technique. Selling you a lemon to my brothers and sisters in the UK. And now what happened, the incident in Manchester, was going to make this, going to try to sell you this agenda. And you have to remain vigilant. This is Theresa May's climax moment, as far as I'm concerned. And I am real convinced this is part of the One World Order agenda. Hopefully I'm mistaken, but I can say this in my heart and soul. I have been pretty accurate in these areas, and I am no expert. I'm not saying this arrogantly, but in good faith. To everyone else that support internet freedom, need to be vigilant, regardless on your primary residence. So, how far is this going to go? That's the question. And this is why they try to sell your product, use a great incident that happened over there at a concert. They could all it may all intertwine. Possible MI5 or MI6 agents are involved, allegedly. And I say that out of respect. So wherever you do, folks, you always have to pay attention. Don't get distracted. Don't buy their hype or the propaganda matrix. And I'll be back in a moment. Alright, the next thing we're going to be talking about here is the big Trump deal with Saudi Arabia. Bending over for the Saudis, right? Yeah. Typical status quo. Alright, so this one here is military industrial complex gets rich off Trump's record Saudi arms deal. And came out today, to be exact. And it says here, in the news that should surprise no one, stock prices of top defense contractors soared on Monday after Donald Trump signed the largest arms deal in United States history with Saudi Arabia over the weekend. The deal, hailed by the White House as a significant expansion of the security relationship between U.S. and Saudi Arabia, is worth $350 billion over the next 10 years. However, $110 billion of it will take effect immediately. Much like with East Asia, where the United States government cites the North Korean nuclear weapons program as justification for its military buildup in the region, Washington, D.C. claims the Iranian threat and continued hostilities in the Middle East are the reasons behind the unprecedented deal. Can I say peanut on microphone? Yes, this package of defense equipment and services support the long-term security of Saudi Arabia and the Gulf region in the face of the Iranian threats. And the White House said in the statement, "Stop bending over, man. What are a bunch of Uncle Toms right now? while almost bolstering the kingdom's ability to contribute to counterterrorism operations across the region, reducing the burden on the U.S. military to conduct those operations. News deal certainly bolstered the market value of stock prices for companies within the military-industrial complex from CNBC. Shortly after market opened, Lockheed Martin was about 2%, Raytheon was up more than 1.4%, Northrop Grumman climbed 1%, and General Dynamics were about 0.5%. All stocks reached new highs, but the defense sector wasn't only the winner in the U.S. leader's trip to Saudi Arabia, while the president and his family were quite literally being given the red carpet treatment over the weekend. It was reported that Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates will donate $100 million to a World Bank fund. Hooray, hooray. That was the brainchild of Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka. How so astounding. I am so thrilled that the murdering scumbag kingdom that loves to chop people's heads off for bullshit allegations, and they're going to donate $100 million to a World Bank fund. How astute of them. It was also worth noting that the Trump administration's waged airstrikes on Syria following a chemical attack in the country in April. Stocks in military companies also spiked. There's links on here too, so it's the same old song and dance. Please, folks. Even Barack Obama did the same thing, and George W. Bush as well. All bend over and did the lovey-dovey to try to free the world, protect the world for democracy, which is nothing more than a pretentious wet dream. Put America first. Let's make America great again. Feel the hype. Get suckered. Get screwed. Bend over, my fellow worshippers. I'm giving the Jim Jones syndrome right in the rear, just like the predecessors' disciples as well. More things change, the more it stays the same. And you know what? This is why I'm one vigilant prick when it comes to geopolitics. Plus, never bow down to any of these individuals in 2016 and before that and beyond. Stand down, Mr. Trump. Stand down. Stop selling your rears to these other foreign entities. And the question is, President Trump, when is the last time Iran invaded a country? In addition, why you want to suck up and sign a great deal to a nation that treats their people like garbage? Human rights. Yeah, I'll just take a dump and flush the toilet. I find that more inspiring than all the hype and hoopla, pretentious rhetoric from a typical used car salesman politician in this particular subject. All right. Next one. Came from New Eastern Outlook. Came out a couple days ago. And this is by Olson Gunner. It says here, if NATO wants peace and stability, it should stay home. As it reads here, a curious op-ed appeared in the National Interest penned by Hans Benedict and David Grompert, adjunction senior news fellows, as its RAND Corporation titled NATO's Role in Post-Caliphate Stability Operations. It attempts to make case for NATO involvement everywhere from Libya to Syria and Iraq, and fostering stability in the wake of yet-to-be-defeated Islamic State. The authors propose that NATO step in to fill what it calls an impending vacuum left as the caliphate collapses, heading off alternatives, including chaos or Iran backed by Russia, filling the void with great harm to U.S. and allied interests in either case. The op-ed never explains why Iran, neighboring Syria and Iraq, is less qualified to influence the region than the United States, which exists literally oceans away and shares nothing in terms of history, culture, language, or shared interest in stability and peace. The op-ed would literally claim NATO is the only security organization with the skills and breadth to take on this task. The U.S.-led anti-Islamic State coalition of 68 partners is ill-equipped to engage in this complex task. A more cohesive organization such as NATO should lead, but in ways that allow continued Arab participation. A creative version of the NATO-led International Security Assistance Force, or ISAF, coalition could provide the answer. It was an interesting choice by the author showcased on one's NATO's most stupendous and falling continuing failures in Afghanistan, with mentions of the ISAF, a force that not only has failed to bring stability to the Central Asia nation in over a decade and a half of occupation, but has presided over the emergence of the Islamic State. There were previously it had no presence. The reality of what NATO is versus the national interest op-ed attempts to pass it off as resembles of more sales pitch for a shoddy product than a genuine attempt at geopolitical analysis for problem solving, but the truth goes deeper still. NATO is a global wrecking ball. It cannot create stability. The op-ed focuses primarily on proposing NATO's role for the post-Islamic State, Libya, Iraq, and Syria. Libya is perhaps the most tragic of the three, with NATO having used direct military force in 2011 to topple the government of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi in support of known extremists passed off at the time by both NATO spokespeople and the U.S. European media as moderate rebels. Yeah, I laughed at that too. The predictable fallout this military campaign was the collapse of Libya as a relatively stable and unified nation state into warring factions. The instability became fertile grounds for extremism, with many of the groups backed by NATO evolving into what is now the Islamic State. The National Interest op-ed make mention of Arab participation. It should be remembered that most extreme factions fighting in Libya were not only aided by direct NATO military intervention, but were armed and funded by Persian Gulf dictatorships as well, including Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. A similar pattern of sowing instability has unfolded in Libya, leading to not averting the rise of the Islamic State. In Iraq's instability is direct and lasting consequence of the U.S. military invasion and occupation of 2003. If nothing else, this exposes NATO and its members as a collective global wrecking ball, just as a wrecking ball cannot be used to construct a building on a vacant lot. NATO cannot be used to construct the conditions of stability across the Middle East and North Africa, or MENA. Really, stopping Islamic State means really stopping support for it. Ultimately, what the op-ed calls for the permanent occupation of the three nations by NATO forces, ranging from special forces in Libya to the formal occupation of Raqqa in Syria and Mosul in Iraq. Interestingly, the op-ed suggests that the NATO occupation force in Syria should not only be used to combat the Islamic State, but to also deter the Syrian military thrust, referring to the armed forces of the actual and only legitimate government in Syria. This last point exposes fully what NATO is really interested in and what the sales pitch is really advertising. NATO is not in MENA to defeat the Islamic State. It is merely using the Islamic State as a pretext to project Western hegemony across the region. The closing paragraph states this NATO strategy cannot and should not be expected to settle the Syrian civil war, but ethnic and sectarian harmony to Iraq or create an effective Libyan state. What it could do is create conditions of stability in which lack solutions, at least have a chance. It can do so only if the U.S. is ready to call upon NATO to join it in filling the post-ISIS void and for the European allies to answer that call. Certainly, NATO presence in Syria, Iraq, or Libya will not bring any sort of stability. NATO has proven its absolute inability to achieve that in its 16-year occupation of Afghanistan. Claiming NATO occupation will create conditions of stability in which lasting solutions at least have a chance. It's merely NATO's way of ensuring no matter how the chaos it itself has created across MENA, where it will hold a stake in the outcome it for no other reason because it has literally taken and occupies territory within the post-war region. It is interesting that the Islamic State, in the wake of the U.S.-led NATO-backed violence stretching from North Africa to Central Asia, and only begin to suffer setbacks upon greater and more direct Russian and Iranian intervention. The bombing of Islamic State and Jabhat al-Nusra logistical lines emanating from NATO member Turkey borders by Russian warplanes, for example, inevitably led to huge gains by the Syrian Arab army, including the eventual liberation of Aleppo, the containment of Idlib, and a significant retraction of Islamic State held in territory in eastern Syria. The torrent supplies feeding Islamic State and other fronts of extremist militancy flowing from Turkey is the immediate result of Persian Gulf sponsorship, which in turn serves as an intermediary for U.S. and NATO support for what the U.S. Defense Intelligence called in 2012 a Salafist principality. The PDF format, you can check it out yourself. The specific purpose of the Salafist principality, admittedly backed by Persian Gulf dictatorships, Turkey, and what the U.S. DIA refers to as the West, was to isolate the Syrian regime. Clearly then, were NATO generally interested in defeating the Islamic State and undoing the damage it has done, it will begin by withdrawing it and its allies' own support of the terrorist organization in the first place. In short, if NATO truly wants to create stability across MENA, it merely needs to stop intentionally sowing instability. Of course, a unilateral military bloc intentionally sowing chaos across the entire region of the planet is doing so for a very specific purpose. It is the same purpose all hegemons throughout human history have sought to divide and destroy the region they cannot outright conquer. A destroyed competitor may not be as favorable as a conquered, controlled, and exploited competitor, but it is certainly preferable to a free and independent competitor, contributing to a multipolar world order. NATO, by embedding itself amid the chaos it itself has created, it has proven in Afghanistan only ensures for the chaos. Within this chaos, NATO can ensure if its own membership cannot derive benefit from the region, and no one else will. A call like that featured in the national interest for NATO to bring stability to the MENA region stands stark contrast to the reality that everywhere NATO goes, chaos does not only follows, stays indefinitely until NATO leaves. The best thing NATO can do for the stability across MENA is to leave. No arguments here. Get NATO out. The United States needs to get out of NATO. And to you, President Trump, I say, let's pursue it. Gotta get out of these. We gotta avoid entangling these alliances, other foreign alliances around the world. And this MENA region is just an example. Stop playing the one world order game. This is what's happening. And that's why let's end NATO and all this crap. Let's become a sovereign republic once again. Yes to a republic, no to an empire. Get the United States out of NATO, and NATO needs a butt out of the affairs in that region. Done deal. All right, one more here. It came from Middle East Eye. It's about Yemen. Came on Sunday. It says here, Yemen, thousands protest for southern secession. Protesters march in the port city of Aden in favor of South Yemen secession from the north. The second such protest since early May. Thousands of Yemenis who back southern secession demonstrated in the second city, Aden, on Sunday as a self-proclaimed autonomous body said it would press for the South liberation from the north. The protest was the second since 4th of May, when thousands of Southerners marched in support of former Aden governor Al-Adris al-Zubaydi after he was sacked by President Abdul Rabbu Mansour Hadi. After being fired in April, Zubaydi set up the South Transition Council, an autonomous body whose 26 members includes the governors of 5 southern provinces and 2 government ministers. The body, chaired by Zubaydi, aims to run the southern provinces and represent them inside and outside the country. The presidency in war-ravaged Yemen has rejected the body and said in the statement last week that such acts remain baseless and will never be accepted. The port city of Aden is Hadi's hometown and where his government, which is battling Shia Houthi rebels, will have seized the capital Sana'a, is based. Sunday's protesters who flooded Aden from southern provinces defended Zubaydi's council, chanting independence is our objective as they march. The South Transition Council released a statement pledging to pursue the mission of liberating South Yemen, which is an independent state until 1990, when it was unified with North Yemen. Hadi sacked Zubaydi on 27 April, along with cabinet member Hani bin Burq, in a move widely seen as reflecting divisions among his supporters. 2 men played key roles in restoring security to Aden and adjacent province after rebels were pushed out in 2015. Well, what do you got to say about that? So people do support independence and secession. People tired of being bombed as well. And one person made a statement here, Osman Anashi said, game is over. Tell the sick kings of Saudis, Salman, southern Yemen had retained its sovereignty. That's the legitimate government on the ground, and Aden's our capital. There's no legitimacy with Abdul Rabbu Mansour as far as Yemen's unity collapse. And every party, north and south, is ruling his capital, and Sana'a is the capital of Yemen Arab Republic. And no single southern and armed person will participate in the war against Houthi and Abdul Saleh. All our fighting units withdraw beyond international borders that we share with Yar. Abdul Fattah Mansour is an unwanted person as long as he's president of the Doomed Republic of Yemen, but as southern citizens, he's constitutional right to come in. It's interesting here. So a lot of these people do want their independence in that particular region, the 5 provinces. And you know what I gotta say? Make it happen. You gotta give these folks credit. They see what's going on, and gotta really hope for the best. And the Yemen war has to stop. So that is it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you're saying something to me that's interesting and may want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedom's Network, Scene.life, Minds.com, FutureNet.club, and Patreon.com, which is /LokiLuck3 with 3 I's. If you want to do some donations, that'd be great. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com, or for you encrypted fans, LokiLuck03@protonmail.com. Woo, okay, sorry about that. Went a bit over an hour. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys to death, okay? Well, once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.